Yo, 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 what is up? It is the Fantasy Football Show with the homie Nick Wilcox. Anytime he doesn't pull an Undertaker move on us, just like he just did. But you know what time it is? It is Sunday. It's 8 o'clock. It's that time. We're getting ready to get live for our very first versus of the year. Nick, why do you keep pulling these Undertaker moves on me, brother? You are completely blacker than Wesley Snipes right now.
Dude, I have no idea what's going on here. I have no idea what's going on with this setup. I can't explain it. But I'm here and I'm ready to rock and roll. So,
Okay.
cheers to you. Cheers to the audience. What's up, great people? Drop those questions in the chat. We out here living it. And it's time to talk some fantasy football versus one of our favorite topics of the all season. So, we got things lined up for y'all. And let's go and let's get it.
Yeah, man. So obviously, before we jump right into it, man, just kind of the weekend, man. How was the week for you? You know, give you a chance to maybe try to get back on screen with us and see if we can see you. Anything crazy happened for you this week?
I'm not on screen.
No, you haven't been on screen since we started. That's why I called you the Undertaker.
Jesus Christ.
He's a good guy. He is a good guy. All right. So while Nick is getting situated, man, talk a little bit about like this week and anything that's crazy that popped off for us here. Give him a chance to get back on and get live for us, for sure. So hey, we got some people in the chat. Miss Tara, hey. Looking for some more love as well, man. Like if you see us out there, you watching this, retweet us, restream us, whatever you need to do, man, to get us that love, because we definitely need it here for sure moving forward. So we'll see if Nick is ready to go here. Hey, there we go. He's back. So now, can he hear us? Now that's the $5 million question. Can he hear us? Nick cannot not hear us. He cannot hear us right now. Oh boy. Oh man. Oh man. First day on the job. Here we go. We're back at it. Very first one, and we're here. So all right. Well, anyways, man. Conor McGregor fight last night. Not a big UFC guy. Wow. That was kind of heartbreaking to see that one right there. Yeah, I woke up. Oh, you are with us. Okay. Oh, no, he's not. He's talking to his machine. Yeah, that was heartbreaking to see Conor McGregor last night. Heartbreaking to see. I know a lot of people were obviously like super excited about that fight. I was just cooked, man. I woke up, went on Twitter to see like what actually happened, and they were like, here's 4 minutes and 29 seconds of the Conor McGregor fight. And I was like, damn, like it went like that quick. And yeah, it went that quick. All right. It went that quick. And he blew out his knee, which is really unfortunate for sure. But so is the sports world, man. I think we all know that mess happens sometimes. So we had that. Then in other news, CM Punk captures the WWE Championship from Sami Zayn. So Sami Zayn 9 days as the champ, and then no more championship belt. Crazy work by Triple H. Crazy work by the WWE. Crazy work altogether, man. But yeah, what a wild and crazy week in sports so far. So. Yeah, that's what I wanted to talk with Nick about, but obviously he didn't want to talk about it. So we got that. Obviously, still waiting on LeBron, waiting on my guy, waiting on Goat James, waiting on him to go sign with Philly. That's what I told some of my partners, is that's what it was going to be, was Philly. Feels like that's where it's leaning towards. Feels like that's what it is. Man. Still can't hear this guy. Whew. Sure was some good food at the funeral. Man. Well, yeah. Anyways, tonight, like we got verses. Obviously, you guys can see down in the bottom left-hand corner of your screen or right hand, depending on how you're looking at things. First thing we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about Bo Nix. We're going to talk about Kyler Murray, given their ADP. And if you guys are unfamiliar with our verses, kind of how it rolls is we take a look at two players who are in similar draft ranges as far as the same round. So we don't go off of like players that like we like that, maybe for instance, maybe they've changed teams what we like, maybe have like a 2-round difference, because it's very easy cop out for that would just be like, oh, well, give me the cheaper player, the player, that doesn't cost, doesn't take more draft capital. So for us, we do this and we talk about, hey, who are the players that are in the average draft range or in the draft range of the next player? And first up, we have Bo Nix and we have Kyler Murray is who we have. So we'll talk about that. We'll break that down as well. I guess I can go ahead and give you guys the rest of the run. And we also have Puka versus JSN. We look up top, man, at wide receivers. I think everybody, or for the most part, most people are in on Jamar Chase as the number one wide receiver this year. You could obviously make a case for either Puka Nacua, or you could really make a case for JSN as well. But those are the players we'll be talking about tonight. At the running back position, we'll be talking about Chase Brown and Ken Walker. We'll be breaking those guys down as far as like the versus aspect goes. And then at tight end, we'll have Dallas Goedert and Jake Ferguson. Let's try this again. Are you with us?
Can you see me first?
Oh, my God. Look at this.
Can you hear me?
Yeah. Oh, my God. It only took you 7 minutes, man. We're 3 deep every time, man. We're good for it. DraftKings, let's start making some bets, man. Let's start making some bets. I don't know what to say. So, yeah. Well, what I was talking about while you were gone was I was just like, oh, well, Conor McGregor last night, man. That was crazy. That was crazy.
Dude, what the hell was that last night?
I was like, that is absolutely insane. Like, I didn't stay up to watch the fight. Like, some guys at work, neither did I. Like, they were all like, oh, Conor. I was like, man, listen, like that, like I get it, bro, but like this ain't like playing basketball. This man ain't fought in like 5 years. He ain't fought in 5 years. And like y'all throwing money on him like that. I said, all right, God bless you. God bless you. And then I woke up this morning and I was like, oh, I wonder what happened in the fight, And I hop on X and I see here is 4 minutes and 29 seconds and I was like, damn, it went like that. Damn. Like, yeah. So that was definitely crazy work.
Between like Patty submitting his opponent within like minute, like 50 seconds, and then the main event like lasting 20 seconds.
Crazy work last night.
I would be livid if I spent so much money on that event just to see those last 2 matches end like that.
Oh man, I don't think I ever told you this one, man. I got a good one. That's you talk about spending money on something, man. Steelers and Pats, the last AFC Championship game, man. I'll buy tickets to that game because I'm like, this is the Killer Bees era. So I'm like, man, they got me. And this is when like New England didn't have jack squad. They didn't have nothing. This was the James White Super Bowl. It was that AFC playoff. Like Chris Hogan smoked us, man. And when I got to my seat, by the time I got to my seat, I had like 5th row, 6th row seats in the end zone. By the time I got to my seat, some guy nudges me. He goes, hey, man. He goes, Le'Veon Bell ain't coming back. He goes, he's hurt. I was like, what? He's like, yeah, Le'Veon Bell's not coming back. Bro, I never even seen prime Le'Veon Bell even carry the football at this game, man. Prime Lev Bell. So like, man, I hate that, man. So yeah, that was pretty crazy. And then this is another good one, man, before we get ready to get rolling. Unless you got anything else, which if you do, like definitely please share. But go to the water park today. So I'm back about 3 shades blacker than normal. Smelling like stank and sunscreen, cooked for sure, man. And I go on a couple rides, man. Me and my daughter, we go on a couple rides, and we're walking back to like where we have all of our stuff at. So we're walking. I step on a rock, bro. Toes busted open, man, bleeding everywhere, bro. Like, we ain't even 45 minutes into this joint, man, and my toe is busted wide open after I done like stepped on a rock, dog. I said, man, I'm gonna stop claiming myself as an athlete. In one of my little group chats, somebody was like making fun of, like, the way I throw and talk about like my golf swing. And I was like, you know what, man? I had two thoughts come to mind. I was like, number one, like, I've seen plenty of people that, look good in pajamas, but don't do nothing out on the field. So I said, I'm gonna leave it at that. But I said, you know what, today I ain't even gonna respond because I ain't even got nothing to say, man. I ain't even got nothing to say, man. So yeah. What's up, Fizz? What up, brother? What up? Yeah, man. So crazy week, man. That's about what I had going on, man, this week. So what about you, man? You have anything good going on?
Yeah, man. Out of town for a work trip. So I'm out of town, having some fun, also doing work. So work hard, playing harder. And yeah, just like really just having some fun, honestly, too. Just enjoying it all. So gonna be more happier right now. Just been it's nice being away from home sometimes.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but by the way, full disclosure, Fantasy Football Expo coming in about like what, a week and a half. It's crazy. About to be up in Ohio. Don't worry, Johnny. I got us.
Well, you're at the expo. I'm at Scott Fishbowl.
Yep.
So between the two of us holding it down in two of the major events in the fantasy space, for sure. So we representation for us on both ends. So yeah, we got Scott Fishbowls next week. So no show on Sunday for next week for you guys.
Nope.
Work on something in the middle of the week, but don't worry, like, obviously, man, like I'll have some good stuff to share with you guys for sure. And I'm obviously I'm looking forward to it, man. Just like I know you're looking forward to the expo and representing in the Kings Classic this year. You are, so obviously best of luck to you, brother, for sure out there, for sure. So yeah, man, that's what we got. So I think now we can actually get into something now here since you're back with us. So versus, here we go. Bo Nix versus Kyler Murray. Who you taking, man?
Well, let's break it down, right? So on one end, we got Bo Nix, Denver Broncos, and Denver in general coming into the season is going to look pretty much eerily similar to what they did coming into last year. The big offseason addition was obviously Jalen Waddle from Miami, so that should give them a nicer wrinkle offensively. However, I don't really see like this offense changing as much, even with Jalen Waddle getting wrinkled in this offense. The only way I really see this like offense truly breaking out, like offensively, is if like really like Jalen Waddle becomes even more of a potent like option in this offense along with Cortland Sutton. So Cortland Sutton is a guy, 2 years ago we were like, we pretty much you were higher on than I was, than some other people in the space, and it went to go show that he was decent. So last season was like some of it, but also like it felt like it was somewhat a down year. With Denver, there's still a team that, in my eyes, still run the ball first. So once they run the ball first, they start getting play action going. That's when they get some deeper concepts going downfield with their other big player, the receivers like Marvin Mims, who's more of a deeper threat when, actually crossing routes, Denver Broncos. So their running game still depends on J.K. Dobbins and R.J. Harvey still opening it up early on for them. So that way, offensive line is going to be the best in a unit coming into the season. So in terms of all those things, Bo Nix for me, I think both him and Kyler could end up being guys that are a little undervalued when it comes to especially one QB teams, just because there's so many options and different tiers you can select from. For the Minnesota side, Kyler Murray, right? With Kyler, it's more about like, okay, like, can he, be the option for Minnesota because there's still JJ McCarthy still waiting in the wings. The competition seems like it's going to be Murray getting every chance he can get to get the spot, but it's going to be more about like, okay, like if Murray struggles or if he shows signs of what he had been showing earlier on last year in Arizona, then it could be more of a closer QB race than most people would think. But as of this moment, it feels like everyone's is pretty much shooing in Kyler Murray to be the spot in Minnesota. And to break down Minnesota, I mean, their offensive line, they suffered injuries. Dillashaw, left tackle, is someone that's very, very important for this squad. And if he's not healthy, this whole squad seemed to kind of like went down in stages last year between inconsistent QB play and obviously offensive line, and then obviously not as much of a run game for Minnesota as well to not really put things together. And obviously that led to Justin Jefferson not being who he was last year. So there's a lot of things to consider when it comes to Minnesota. Defensively, they were still a better unit last year as well. So as from a team perspective from both teams, obviously we broke those down. In my eyes, long-winded way of giving you guys the overall analytics and overall breakdown and insights, I'm going to go with Kyler for the moment. The reason being is because going back to his full season 2 years ago, he still had more top 5 finishes than Bo Nix did last season. And I get it. Denver's the better team all around. That doesn't always mean that Bo Nix should be the best fantasy piece. In my eyes, I'm not if Bo Nix can really up in his ceiling, which is possible, but it just feels like unless Sean Payton really lets Bo Nix all right, Bo Nix, you do your thing, and Bo Nix, can you give us more than he was kind of capped with his running last season. He didn't have more than 49 yards rushing in one game last season. There was a game where he had 2 touchdowns rushing, but overall, his rushing was still limited. And obviously, we know with rushing can unlock a QB, obviously. And with Kyler, going back to a couple of years ago with him, when he had the full season, we know Murray is going to be running around. Coming into this Minnesota situation, my guess is that, KOC, Kevin O'Connell, is going to find the way to use him. He's had, Kevin O'Connell has had worser so-called options other than Sam Darnold, obviously, but he's had other options at QB, and he's really made it happen. We know this. So with Kyler coming in the situation, if he is going to be healthy, opportunity of him being on a contract year, of course, a proven deal, he's got to do everything he can to do so. Usually with these situations, they turn out to be a better value than, anywhere else. And a guy like Kyler, we're banking on him to bounce back in this spot. But this is this unit that he has for weapons, is, definitely better than Arizona, So with that being said, I think Kyler for me is the answer, just because of the value you're getting. When it comes about I would say spots wise for drafts, literally he's an undervalued for 2 QB leagues, super flexes. 1 QB leagues, it becomes a little bit more of a closer situation. Obviously, something we have to monitor. But I just feel good about getting Kyler Murray later as one of those options that people will definitely shy away from. But if you're a guy like me who likes to, go against the grain a little bit, even in a 1 QB league, the worst situation that happens is that Kyler is not really panning out, whatever. You can always grab somebody else from the waiver wire. When it comes to deeper leagues or super flex leagues, whatever, he's clearly your QB2 option. But with Bo Nix, the case for Bo Nix is that obviously, again, the more complete team, the more likelihood he can, potentially give you a better floor every week versus Kyler, who could probably go out there and give you a 5 or 6, or he'd give you a 20, 24, 28. With Bo Nix, obviously the ceiling, is there for potential. I just don't know if the ceiling can be there consistently and have breakout consistency from the situation.
Yeah, man, I think I definitely dope stuff for sure, man, on your part. I like Kyler Murray, man. Kyler Murray, when he came out of college, man, he was one of my favorite players, just because anybody that's hanging out at the 5'10" club like me, I'm a big fan of. I'm a big fan of, and the fact that he was a good enough athlete to be able to be drafted by the Oakland A's as well. It's fun to watch, man. It's fun to watch. It's fun to watch a good underdog. I think no matter what sport it is. An underdog is always fun to watch. And I think that's part of like what compels people to like really prefer Kyler Murray over other players like in other situations. And I feel like, man, I feel like that might be what it is here, like in this space, like too with you. Like I think like he's a good underdog. He's a great athlete. I think like if you look at it just like in sheer athleticism, Kyler Murray's I'd probably say he's a better athlete than Bo Nix, like just raw pure athlete, right? But the thing I think with Kyler is there has been some things that have happened with him over the last couple years that's actually showing regression. And one of the things is him throwing the ball downfield. That's one of the things that has regressed. We can say it's the scheme if you want to say it's the scheme. All right, man, like that's cool as well. We could definitely say that. He has been moving around a little bit more, almost at 4 scrambles. That's almost up from 2 from where he was at in 2024. Obviously, shortened season for sure. But I think the one thing, man, that everybody is always enamored with, and I talked about it a little bit, it's like his athleticism. We're always enamored with the athlete. Well, it's not 2020 anymore, man, and he's not going to get back to 819 yards and 11 touchdowns rushing. Like that's just not what it's going to be. We all know Kevin O'Connell is definitely going to put him in the best situation possible. I agree with you, man. I think the weapons that he got are absolutely better than the weapons that he has in Arizona. Although maybe we didn't know about Michael Wilson like that, so it could be up for this. It could be up for discussion. But I think I'm a Jalen Naylor fan for sure. But they upgraded. Got my man Juwan Jennings from Shout Out UT. So obviously an upgrade there, right? We know about Justin Jefferson. We know about Jordan Addison. We know about TJ Hawkinson. We know about what that is. Like I've been on record for saying this. I think that like Kyler Murray, like he's going to be what he's always been. Like I don't think there's going to be anything more. I don't think there's going to be anything less than what it's always been for him. Bo Nix, on the other hand, I like Bo Nix, man. I like Bo Nix. I think like for me in this space, like I think I'm gonna ride with Bo Nix here. And like some of the reasons that like I'm gonna ride with Bo Nix is because the Denver Broncos are gonna be throwing the ball. Like they're going to throw the ball. Like that's just what it is. There's no way around it. Like it's Sean Payton. They're gonna do that. They ranked 9th in pass rate last year. And I think that continues. They also were 3rd in plays per game. So they're going to play fast. They're going to give him opportunities to throw the ball. He had 612 pass attempts last year. So yeah, like they're going to do that. And the one part about like Bo Nix and his athleticism is like he does a better job than most quarterbacks in the NFL at avoiding sacks. And granted, like he has like the ankle injury that like, we got to see how he looks coming back out from this right here, or whatever the case may be. But if you're telling me that I'm getting a quarterback who's going to be playing in an offense is going to be throwing the football more than most teams in the NFL and has the ability to move around, better than most quarterbacks in the league, which for him, actually, this was actually crazy. Where was it at? His rushing last year, man, he was tied for 5th among quarterbacks with 83 carries and 5 rushing touchdowns last season. So, and he was 11th at the position in rushing yards and 8th in scramble yards at the position. So you're getting a top 10, essentially a top 10 quarterback when it comes to mobility. You're getting a top 10, a QB1 when you talk about him passing the ball. And by the way, they also added Jalen Waddle to this offense. So I think for me, when I look at, if I'm on the clock and who am I taking, I think I'm going to take Bo Nix, man, because all of his like sexy metrics are ugly. And there was another guy last year that had all of his sexy metrics were ugly. Caleb Williams, all the sexy metrics were ugly, but like they still were able to produce. So I just think it's one of those type of situations for me, man, where it's going to be opportunity, over talent, if you will. And Bo Nix is the guy for me. So I think if I'm on the clock and it's Bo Nix, because I still think Kyler Murray is going to end up leapfrogging him when we talk about ADP coming into drafts. Because right now Bo Nix is going to. I think so. I think it's just a name thing, man. Like one of the things that like I find really interesting, man, is it's
so QB 14 right now for Bo Nix, QB 17 for Kyler Murray.
Yeah, I think so. I think.
So you think Murray's gonna move up to 14?
I think, man. I would not be shocked to see Murray steam up past him, man, because I think Bo Nix. people just, I don't know what it is about some of these quarterbacks, man. Like,
I just don't think he's gonna get that much steam. I think it'll be still neck to neck. Like I think Bo Nix will still have like a slight, like QB ADP when everything's all said and done. Just because again, people have been burned by Kyler Murray before. So, and I'm sure people are still skeptical about his fit in Minnesota. And even if things get more crystallized for him, I still think people are going to look at Bo Nix, regardless of the ankle injury, whatever. It's not like he tore his ACL. It's not like he did anything to his kid.
I would love to think that, man. I would love to think. I truly would. Like, I would love to think that, but I don't. Like, I hope so. I hope it stays like that. Because if it does, right, then like,
that would change your opinion a little bit.
Well, no, if it stays like that, right?
Yeah.
And if Bo Nix is off the board, like, because there's a lot of positions, man. Like, at quarterback is a position that, like, especially in 1 QB leagues, like, you can wait. Like, history has shown you can wait. Like, you don't have to jump. So, like, I'm not like
you
don't have to jump, man, for sure. But like everything that, like, my whole thing is right is like you mentioned it, Bo Nix, like the health concerns. Like, we still really don't know. Like, Kyler was healthy at the end of the year. Arizona just chose not to play him. And like people, and I'm enamored with the fact that Justin Jefferson is actually going to have Kyler Murray as a quarterback. I'm enamored with the fact that, like, the Minnesota offense is really undervalued if you think about it right now from all the players that, like, I just mentioned. So, like, for me, in my mind, if they're undervalued right now, at some point they're going to become valued. Like, they're going to become valued versus, like, the Denver Broncos and Bo Nix. Like, we've already seen, like, what this is. Like, so if you say, hey, like, this is Bo Nix's ceiling, to your point, but Kyler Murray this is untapped and uncharted water for him. Well, hey, like, maybe I'm willing to roll the dice on Kyler Murray ahead of Bo Nix. But I just think that Bo Nix's situation, man, I just think it's like you're gonna get a QB1 from him. Like, you're gonna get QB11 performance from him. And like Kevin O'Connell, for the most part, like, that's what he's put out with Kyler Murray is like a QB11. I think Sam Darnold was like QB9 or QB10 when he was in Minnesota. And I think the same thing with like Kirk Cousins. So you're going to get similar production. So yeah, like, it's ultimately going to be who's the guy that's not on the board. Like, that's the guy that you take. But like, for me, like right now, like Bo Nix, man, like, even this was the case last year. He was grossly underrated last year because like those other metrics, like they don't mean squat in a fantasy league, man. The only thing that matters, we know, is how many points are you scoring. And Bo Nix was the 11th best quarterback last year in fantasy. So yeah, I'll take it, man.
That's fair.
Yeah. All right, dig that. All right, here. So next up, we got, man, Chase Brown and Ken Walker, bro. These guys, both of these guys, about halfway through the season, and I'm just gonna be frank here, they could have eaten shit, man. They literally could have eaten shit. Both of them could have eaten shit, man. Like, dude. Like, Ken Walker, man, I'm pretty sure he actually made my all mid-season bus team.
He did.
Because
I remember.
Because all bark and no bite at that time, right? All bark and no bite at that time. Because Charbonnet was he was the man at that point. And Chase Brown was awful. He was awful. And then both of these guys, Chase Brown is the reason why I didn't win a championship in multiple leagues because he went absolutely nuclear. I feel like it might have been against Arizona. I feel like, yeah. And then Ken Walker, obviously we know about the run that he had in the playoffs. Playoffs. Obviously, like, we know, like, the run, like, playoffs. But the real life playoffs, like, we know about the run like he had, man. So like, these are two guys now, and I'll start off by saying that, like, last year, Chase Brown, people were making arguments and people were actually taking Chase Brown at the end of the first round, early into the second round last season. And
I wasn't one of those guys. I was taking Chase Brown appropriately at like the 2-3 turn routes. Just to put
whatever. Like, that's cool, man. Like, because honestly, like, you could have justified taking him like at that spot. Like, you could have absolutely justified that. And some of the things that, like, actually not some of the things, the thing that is the most important for Chase Brown, just like it is the most important thing for everybody else, that's in a Bengal uniform is Joe Burrow. Like, that's the most important thing. Like, that's the most important thing for all of those guys in that space. And for him, he was fifth in catches at the running back spot, sixth in receiving yards, third in receiving TDs. So obviously, right, like we talk about Joe Burrow and the impact that like he has on the Cincinnati Bengal offense, like that's what it is. 21 points a game when Joe Burrow is on the field. Like, there was only 4 running backs in the NFL that were better than that, man. So I get it, like about drafting him appropriately. Ifs and buts were candy and nuts, we'd all have a Merry Christmas. Joe Burrow on the field, man, again, there's only 4 running backs better in PPR format than Chase Brown, right? And then from weeks 1 through 6, man, it was like 2.7 yards a carry, 5.2 yards between week 7 and then week 18. Like, he just was a better football player when Joe Burrow was on the field. And I think, again, that's the same thing for everybody in a Cincinnati Bengals uniform. And like, when I was like doing this here, like with these 2 players, one of the most important stats for me was like Chase Brown hadn't missed any games, man. Like, Chase Brown don't miss games. Like, he hasn't missed any games. I think he missed 1 game, I believe, and I think that was his rookie season. He missed 4 games in his rookie season. But other than that, like, Chase Brown is actually on the field making plays, right? And for as much as like, because I love Ken Walker's talent, man. I love Ken Walker as a talent. But I know, and all of fantasy knows that like the number one problem with Ken Walker is the best ability he's got is not his availability. And that's been a problem for him throughout his career. And like, I don't know, man. Like, I have a hard time like right now justifying picking Ken Walker in a space like this for a couple of reasons. I know Eric Bieniemy's back now calling plays for the Chiefs, so I think that's obviously like a plus for Patrick Mahomes, like, because they've with Eric Bieniemy there, man, like the offense has done nothing but like excel. And granted, like, prime Tyreek, peak Travis Kelce, right? Like, you can make all those cases, right? But I think there's definitely got to be something to be said about him being back in that space. But just over the last couple of years, man, like the Chiefs running backs have finished like 24th in 2024, 25th in 2025, 2023 they were 10th, 2022 they were 4th. So I just have a hard time, man, spending that type of draft capital on Ken Walker that early on, right? Because even when he was supposed to be at his best, like, and maybe that's the thing, maybe we haven't seen what his best actually is. Like, maybe his best is with Kansas City. And Patrick Mahomes coming off this injury, like, I think that he should see a lot of volume. So I think if he gets there, it's going to be through volume. But Chase Brown gets a lot of volume too. Like, he's pretty much like the only show in town. And like, Chase Brown is a better receiving back than, at least to this point in his career, he's been a better receiving back than Ken Walker. So for me, man, I think like the pick for me is Chase Brown, because I think Chase Brown is one of those guys right now at this point that you could draft like in the range that you're getting him at. And as I stated earlier, he could pay off and be, a top 5, a top 6 running back for somebody, who's being drafted at the 2-6 right now, slightly behind Ken Walker. So Chase Brown is definitely the pick for me all day, man, on this one.
I mean, the only thing I'll say about Ken Walker is that, like, he just has the ability to give you, like, a, really breakout performance. So from a ceiling perspective, like, he's not better than Chase Brown, in my opinion. But it's, like, weirdly enough, it's like Ken Walker. Like, we saw him in the playoff games, actual NFL playoff games. It's like he has the ability to give us 2 touchdowns, 3 touchdown games. Chase Brown does too, but it was like, it's just interesting how Kenneth Walker just does it in spurts. My whole thing is, I'm in agreement. I agree with you when it comes to Chase Brown, because I was solely against Kenneth Walker anyway. Last year, especially because he was in a timeshare, with Zach Charbonnet already before the season even started. So I'm like, why am I going to spend a 4th round, whatever pick on Kenneth Walker when Chase Brown is someone that, even though he's going a little higher, his justification in terms of floor and ceiling makes sense. And same thing here. Kenneth Walker, for me, he's No, with the Chiefs now, we don't know what Mahomes is going to look like as we go into more of the end of this off season and as the season starts coming up soon, July 12th. So we don't know what Mahomes is going to look like. My guess is he'll be ready for week 1. I have good confidence that he should get there.
Yeah.
Because Patrick Mahomes and playing the QB position too. So he may not be as mobile, obviously, but week 1 he should be ready. And if that's the case, that does do something for me, but it doesn't move much of a needle for me up for Kenneth Walker. He's just not a guy I'm always trying to get in my draft profile. He's not a running back that I'm always trying to put on my teams because he's just one of those guys that has always kind of proven that games alone missed. We could talk about just justifying
that part.
Brown,
that,
right?
that part.
So
that part.
There's that. The other part is that Chase Brown is the better receiver. You know what I'm saying? As far as from utilization rate, as far as touches, total touches in general, like Chase Brown is that guy, and he's literally the only game in town in Cincy, like you said, in a high-powered offense that we know is going to have opportunities not only to score, but also he's an all-around purpose back. So obviously there's other weapons, that take away from his ceiling, so to speak, but it's still Chase Brown, and it does remind me of like when Joe Mixon was still on the team. It's almost like a better version, in my opinion, because Joe Mixon didn't catch as many passes.
1,000%.
So, in my opinion, it's just Chase Brown all day here. We've both talked about how we really don't like Kenneth Walker anyway. We don't understand why his ADP has shot up this far. Again, people could justify the contract. People could justify maybe not Mahomes not being there as high, and he will get the touches. But again, do we want Kenneth Walker to be a bell cow guy? I don't think so. And I'm not going to draft him to find out on a team in Kansas City where, let's be honest, Kansas City is not what they used to be a couple years ago. Now we're talking about Travis Kelce, longer in the tooth. We're talking about Rashee Rice. He still should be a dominant receiver, but who's the second option in that offense? There's a lot of question marks still on that KC team in general that takes away from Kenneth Walker's in general baked in value. Now, for me, Kenneth Walker should be at least going mid-third round, in my opinion. He should be dropped down a whole round, in my opinion, just because of how much injury risk he takes on and how Kansas City, we know, is not the most fast offense, too. So I feel like ADP, people, my guess is that people should get a little bit more hip to that. But if they don't, hey, kudos to y'all. But I'm not doing it.
Yeah, man. I'm just looking at I know this segment is about Ken Walker and Chase Brown, but the running backs that are going after Ken Walker, it's mind blowing to me. Jeremiah Love, for
as much we talk about rookie running backs and then Arizona or whatever, if that offense could stay anything type of decently balanced, I think Jeremiah Love has that opportunity to definitely lead Kenneth Walker for sure.
Yeah, I think we know that Derrick Henry, Breece Hall, Kyron Williams, Josh Jacobs, that's a little bit risque, but we know what that is.
Sure, but I still would take them all over him.
Yeah, same. Javonte, I think maybe that's a maybe that's a conversation.
I would probably take Javonte.
That's a conversation. Yeah, it's a conversation, and then Travis Etienne, and I think too. Quinshon Judkins. DeAndre Swift, right? There's definitely there's a.
That's definitely probably. I would probably Walker maybe, but I'm
right, but for him, right? But for him to be where he's currently being drafted at, it's just obviously people are like, oh my god, this is the last thing that's in people's mind, and we could say the same thing about Chase Brown because the last thing that we seen Chase Brown doing was leaving dead birds all over the field in Arizona out there, winning people fantasy leagues. But with Ken Walker, again, just the history of injuries, right? It's just and again, we learned last year from Christian. I learned last year from Christian McCaffrey, right with that, just in that space. But I Chase Brown he's the pick for me because again, if Joe Burrow is upright, it is the entire world knows that it is scary hours for everybody. for everybody. So yeah, man. So Ken Walker. Yeah, good luck with y'all out. And like again, like just for the record, like both of us as we're saying, it can be a thing with him if he gets all the work like he should, but like he would get there on volume solely alone. Like it wouldn't be through the efficiency piece. It would just be surely on volume alone. So like he can get there, but like it's through volume, and he's also got to stay upright. So should be interesting to see how that shakes out, man. So all right, man. Next up, we got Puka and we got JSN. I wanted to go Puka and Chase, is what I wanted to, but like, obviously, like we talked about it a little bit, and like, hey, like, like Chase, we know what it's going to be. Like it should be him at 101, but like you can justify either one of those three guys, right? You could justify either one of those three guys being the first wide receiver off the board, for sure. But Puka and JSN seems to be a little bit more of an interesting conversation to have. So JSN in his third year, man, just absolutely offensive player of the year, absolutely busted the seams out of fantasy, out of the wide receiver position last year, blew up his ROI as far as being drafted, and was just absolutely phenomenal. I don't have to harp and go on it because we all know, obviously, being the offensive player of the year for sure. Second in points per game last year. And he did all this, man. And these are the things I was like, as I'm doing all this, I'm like, I don't know, man. Maybe you can make a case for JSN to be the first wide receiver taken. So he's second in points per game last year, and he ran almost 6 routes fewer than he did in 2024, which I was like, that's kind of crazy to think about that. Obviously, the one thing a lot of people thought about JSN is he was dubbed as a guy that just only played in the slot primarily. Seattle moved him around quite a bit last year. They moved him around quite a bit last year. He played, obviously, a majority of his snaps out on the perimeter, but he did have like a 24% rate as playing in the slot. And that was a big difference because he did play almost 70% of his time in the slot in 2024 and in 2024. So they definitely moved him out to the outside, man. I think the thing that's like really the most interesting for me, the big take for JSN was just the fact that this offense was such a run-heavy offense and he was able to produce at the clip that he was able to produce. And the offense is probably not going to change like dramatically, even though Kubiak is gone, right? Like we know that. The offensive scheme is not going to change. It's not going to change that much. So they're still going to try to run the ball, but I think obviously like that, that's another discussion for another day, depending on like, hey, if they're able to run the ball, then like, yeah, like I think JSN is still going to be, he's still going to be what he's going to be. And I still think he's going to produce anyway. This offense did not play at a fast clip last year. They did not play at a fast clip. They were 26 in pace of play last year, which is crazy again to have the wide receiver 2 in the NFL. Playing with Sam Darnold of all people, Super Bowl winning quarterback, former New York Jet, Sam Darnold. It was just fascinating to me that all of this happened, playing in an offense that moved at this pace with these pieces, and JSN was able to do what he was able to do last season. So I think if anything for me, man, like after kind of going through this process, I think it actually has helped me say that like if I'm in a situation and JSN is on the board, I feel 1,000% comfortable taking him. Not necessarily per se like ahead of Puka, which I'll get to. Maybe I do, maybe I don't. But again, JSN is not a guy that misses a lot of football games. I think he's only missed a handful, if I'm not mistaken, maybe 1 or 2 games. Actually, he had a broken bone in his wrist, I believe, to start his rookie season. And they thought he was going to miss some time, and he actually ended up like not missing any time or missing a week or something like that right there. So I'm like, this is pretty dope to see what he was able to do. And, we go to Puka, like really there's not a lot to there's not much that I can say about Puka that hasn't already been said, right? Literally, wide receiver 1, He's came out of nowhere from his rookie season. And yes, we know the love that you had for him. We know you were on him early. 10 top 6 PPR finishes. Only one game where he finished worse than wide receiver 22, and that was in week 6, where he left due to an ankle injury. The only concern that really you would have about Puka is he shares the same wide receiving room as as Devontae Adams, the touchdown hog. Devontae Adams, obviously he gets all the red zone work. Puka gets all the work in between the 20s. So that's the only concern, if you really had one for him, would be that, as far as red zone opportunities, and obviously injuries. Injuries are the other thing that you have to deal with Puka Nacua. You know what type of performance you're going to get with him being on the field, but you have to bake into the fact that he's probably going to miss anywhere between 2 to 4 games every single season. And are those 2 to 4 games, are they the games that you absolutely need? You need every week in fantasy, we all know that. But when he's on the field, there might not be a better wide receiver in football than Puka Nacua. Maybe Jamar Chase, maybe JSN. But I think in this situation here, when we're talking about versus who would we take, I'm not even a Puka guy, man. And my gut wants to take Puka. My gut wants to take Puka because you know what the ceiling is going to be. And it's and if you don't click that button to take him, you know that the person that takes him is probably going to get him at a significant discount, just like they did last year, right? When Matthew Stafford and the injuries and, all these small little things are floating around. I'm just going to take Puka, man. I'm going to take Puka, even though Matthew Stafford is one hit away, dude, from probably never playing football again. You know what I mean? One hit away from never playing football again. But I just don't want to miss out on that. But God, man, I'd be okay with taking JSN too, man. I'd be okay with taking that brother too, man. I kind of have a feeling I know where you're going to be leaning at, man, because you kind of mentioned it kind of in passing, but obviously, man, I want to hear everything you got to say about it.
Sure. I mean, look, JSN really showcased that he's in elite class now. I think people were not putting JSN in the category of that higher tier bona fide wide receiver one elite category where only 5 or 6 receivers really sits. I think people were putting JSN as that back end wide receiver one that will get a ton of volume and everything, but also will not really be a one-studded guy that wins you a week or multiple weeks in a row because of his performances. But he showcased that he has that ceiling. So this conversation, if we were talking about last year, it would be people will be all over Puka instead of JSN. This season, however, obviously, JSN's turned a lot of heads. And it's more about now, it's okay, JSN, he's shown that he has the ceiling now. And an offense that was more run heavy, there still might be some room for him to get. He had 1,793 yards receiving last year. There's a case that he can get over 1,800 easily.
Easy.
So
easy.
If their performance is feeded. So they both finished with 10 touchdowns last year during their fantasy season. And what I have to say about both of these guys is that, obviously I've been a Puka guy since day one. And if you need the receipts, go back because it just made sense. But that being said, slightly, it was depending on what league you're in, whether it be half-point PPR or full-point PPR, Puka had the slight edge when it comes to finish with as many fantasy points. It was maybe a 3 or 4 point difference, depending on what league you're in. Obviously, settings matter. But here's what I'll say. I said this wasn't easy. Out of all the baits we have, I think this is the hardest one. I'm going to say Puka only slightly, and it's just because, the offense that he's still in. I think having Adams actually helps him versus really hinder him. There's some situations that you're man, there's 2 top, 15 receivers or whatever, one of them they might cannibalize each other or whatever. This situation doesn't, in my opinion, call for that. I think Adams being more that red zone receiver threat just opens things up more for Puka Nacua. And, if Adams is covered, Puka should get one-on-one coverage. So that's where I think conceptually, I think the Rams are a phenomenal position. And it's really those two guys that really eat anyway in that offense. So outside the run game and outside some of the tight ends every once in a while. But I think Adams is the perfect receiver to have next to Puka Nacua because the way he operates is still like a yards after catch receiver, deep routed type of Puka Nacua in between the 20s. But he still has that ability to get those touchdowns as well. So I'll say Puka slightly, but it wasn't easy. And the reason why it wasn't easy is because, again, JSN, I think, still have the opportunity to, I think Puka Nacua finished with 10 more catches than JSN, surprisingly. So I think that could potentially swing in JSN's favor this season, just because of we don't know what the run games in this situation look like in Seattle as much. And then Darnold, like, as long as he's still playing at a high level, JSN has that opportunity to still be in that elite category. So we'll see what happens. I think, though, it's like I'm just going to go with a little bit more of the safer bet right now. Like Puka Nacua, like we all know the offseason stuff, whatever. I'm not concerned about that whatsoever. If there's something that comes up, it may just come up, but I'm just not concerned about that whatsoever at this time. We're not talking about an injury. We're just talking about, stuff goes on off the field sometimes. And, things you have to take care of and whatever. But that doesn't take away from his talent, and it doesn't take away from the situation he's still in for fantasy. So I'm taking Puka, and it's very close, though.
Oh my God, dude! It's grossly close, man. Because again, man, like last year, like you were able to get JSN at like this significant discount. Like you were getting him probably like a full round later than Puka, right? Like you were getting him a full round later because like we knew the talent was there, like with JSN. We knew the talent was there, but we didn't know about Sam Darnold is what we didn't know. That was the thing that we didn't know about. And it might have been you. I think it might have been you, but I feel like after watching like 1 or 2 weeks of the preseason, I was like, they're going to be okay. Like this is going to work. Like this is going to work because they're going to run the ball. They're going to put Sam Darnold in bootleg situations. They're going to make it easy for him to make easy throws. And JSN, man, like he absolutely crushed last year, man. So, damn, dude, 9 weeks until the season starts, bro. 9 weeks. 9 weeks. That's all. Just throwing that out there.
I know. Crazy, right?
All right. Last thing we got on the docket tonight. Tight ends. And we got, ironically enough, we had 2 NFC West players. And now we have 2 NFC
East players.
2 NFC East players. So obviously, I'm going to hand the floor over to you because this is what you do, man. You're a tight end whisperer over on FanTrack. So I'm going to give it to you and let you cook, man.
Yeah, well, listen, I think both of these guys, if you had them last year, you still did pretty well at the tight end position because honestly, like the tight end position, there's obviously year for year, it just seems like there's always just a handful that really are productive week in and week out. We talk about Jake Ferguson, right? We talk about a guy who was in an offense like Dallas who, again, defense is like shaky sometimes at best. Might be a little bit more improved coming into the season. But just remember that CeeDee Lamb missed a couple games early on in the year. And then down the stretch, he played, but he didn't really play all out. Jake Ferguson was still a tight end that was, again, serviceable for you, especially where you got him at. So with Jake Ferg, for me, like he was definitely a guy that if you were like week to week, you were searching for a guy that could potentially give you some touchdown upside. That was definitely him. Just the only thing that was concerning for me down the stretch was that like his target volume just started going down late in the season for me, where it was like not enough for you to really start him week in, week out. So that was a concerning part just because like, you wanted his production to be more top tier, obviously down the stretch of your fantasy season. So that was a knock on him. But again, tight ends are always a little bit more, in and out. But with Dallas's offense, like there's still abilities to have a touchdown score, still have 60 yards receiving, several catches. With Dallas Goedert, right? Like touchdowns matter, right? So Dallas Goedert led all tight ends last year with 11. And obviously, like the situation in Philly has changed up a bit. And when it comes to Dallas Goedert, like he never had more than double digits touchdowns before. So that was the first time that happened for him. The most he had in a season before that, he always had like at least like 600, 700 receiving yards, whatever, in a season. But touchdowns, he always was like a guy that was never really like getting them consistently because also the Philly offense was just more based on AJ Brown and Barkley, and that was pretty much that. So it wasn't like it's not an air rated offense. But Dallas Goedert like really proved himself worthy of being that tight end last year, right? Because of the struggles with Philly's offense, and sometimes that Dallas Goedert would find himself in positions to take advantage of defenses. And for me, the target volume, we really went up as well. Besides like the last two games against Washington and Buffalo last year, like the times that he was productive, like he gave you really solid games. At least games where he had at least like 4 catches. He either had a touchdown, or he had more than 50 yards receiving. So with Dallas Goedert, for me, this is definitely a win here in my eyes, because of where he's going. Still, I don't understand why Dallas Goedert is tight end 14 according to Fantasy Pros right now. That makes no sense. I can understand why people are a little skeptical because of how the double-digit touchdowns came out for him. I just don't understand it, in my eyes. But Jake Ferguson is also someone that, again, if you're not in love with some of this tier of tight ends or whatever, there's some question marks in general. But I think like Jake Ferguson's solid, but I will go with Dallas Goedert here. It's just a couple of things. AJ Brown's not in town anymore, and then Devontae Smith will be the guy. But anytime one of the guys, when they came to Devontae Smith or AJ Brown, even Dallas Goedert himself, the target, obviously the volume and production, shrank even more. So that being said, I think Dallas Goedert can have those opportunities. Plus now, again, no AJ Brown in town anymore. So it becomes a situation where he actually levels up just by default. So I think Dallas Goedert for me is definitely the guy I'll take in this conversation. But I'm not going to rule out Jake Ferguson just because he's a guy that people are going to forget about once again. He's going to be a guy that will still be able to produce. It's just like Dallas Goedert's ceiling more.
Yeah, man. That's a lot of stuff I agree with you on, man. Like as far as that goes, like Dallas Goedert, I think only one time in his career, man, he hasn't finished as a top 12 or top 13 tight end. I think that might have been his rookie season. So he's definitely like a safe bet when you look at tight end for sure, as far as that goes. And you're right, man. Like he really shouldn't be being drafted at this point in the 10th round. Behind guys like
makes no sense.
Behind guys like Mark Andrews, I think like they're one in the same. Isaiah Likely is still kind of an unproven commodity. Travis Kelce, I think like we know what it is like with him. Dalton Kincaid. I think the rest of the guys, I think you can definitely say like, all right, like that makes sense for a lot of the other names ahead of him. But those names that like I mentioned, nah, I ain't feeling that, man. The one thing about Dallas Goedert is his yards after catch are starting to go down. Yep. He's 31. He's 31 years old. It's happening. They've obviously drafted the heir apparent in Eli Sowers from Vandy. So like that's a thing, and that's gonna be a thing. I'm not a huge like dynasty guy playing like 2, but like definitely draft that guy, man, because he's a freaking dude. He's a baller, bro. He's a baller. And as far as Ferguson goes, man, I think like excuse me, a lot of things that happened for him last season was like he benefited from CeeDee Lamb being injured. He benefited from that. When CeeDee Lamb was injured, George Pickens benefited from that. CeeDee Lamb being hurt, those guys benefited from that like 1,000% because in 11 games with CeeDee Lamb, he had a 15% target share and he was tight end 14 in points per game. Without CeeDee Lamb, 26% target share, number 1 tight end in PPR per game. Like, that's just what it is, man. And he's going to give you some really good weeks, and I think you kind of hit on that. He's going to give you some really good weeks. and he's going to give you some weeks where you're like, WTF. You know what I mean? So Dallas is going to still play fast. Yeah, it is. In Dallas, like they're still going to continue to play fast. That's one of the things like they're going to continue to do. Ironically enough, with the emergence of Javonte Williams last season, they actually became a little bit more of a balanced team, and they didn't have to throw the ball as much as they have in the past. You talked about the defense, like it might actually be a little bit better this year. I think that's up for discussion. Again, like won't know until, the season starts. And if that's the case, then obviously if they're not as good as they were last year, we know it's just going to present more opportunities for that offense to be on the field. And you're right. Like he is so touchdown dependent. He is so touchdown dependent. Is Jake Ferguson. So I think like Dallas Goedert is just a safer play. Like to your point, like he's a safer play than Fergie is. Although, man, if CD Lamb or George Pickens goes crazy and does something on the sidelines or in the middle of the game,
or if injury happens again,
right? Like you have a top 6, top 7 tight end on your hands, which is obviously like a really good thing. But I think to draft him as that's a little bit questionable. I think to your point, man, I think like these guys should honestly, they should be flip-flopped. Is what it should be, because you mentioned it, man. Philly, it's a run-based offense, right? But like those targets from AJ Brown, they have to go to somewhere. Maybe they go to Lemon, maybe they do, maybe they don't. That's why like I'm a big fan of Goedert as far as like the touchdown piece, because the only other guy that had as many touchdowns as him receiving last year was Devontae Adams. Like that's a great space to be in, for sure. That's a great space to be in.
And we lost AJ Brown in this offense again.
So. Right. That's what I'm saying. Like those targets they have to go somewhere, man. Like they have to go somewhere. And for as much as you like Devontae Smith, I shouldn't say you, but as much as like Devontae Smith, like we were like, oh, like, yeah, like, I mean, let's be fair, man. He weighs 176 pounds. You know what I mean? Like, so like, I mean, is he gonna have some moments in the red zone? Of course. But the other part of this too is like, what is this run game going to look like? Because quietly now, like after last season, and Saquon Barkley not really Saquon in it.
Another topic for another day.
Right. Another topic for another day, right? But like that opens it up and that leaves some things to Jake Ferguson in that space, man. Dallas Goedert in that space. So I think I'm gonna play it safe, man, with him. Because he's going to be there. He's going to be a centerpiece of that offense. He's going to be a centerpiece of that offense when you get inside the red zone. All right, man, give me Dallas Goedert for sure. All right. Well, Nick, I'm glad you were actually able to get back on camera tonight.
Me too.
Yeah. All right, man. Maybe the next time we do this, man, maybe we maybe this actually might be a thing where we can get on there and stay on there for sure.
I agree.
Yeah. So we don't have anything, as we mentioned, man, we don't have anything for you guys for next Sunday, because of Scott Fishbowl. However, the following Sunday,
no, you forgot to talk about. I'll say it. So Wednesday.
You
want to tell the audience that we're going to have on this show?
Well, Wednesday, let me make sure I'm right here on my calendar here. Next Wednesday here on, the 15th. The 15th, so this Wednesday, we're going to have the one, the only, the legendary Jim Coventry is going to be joining us next Wednesday for a show. So obviously, like, we're super excited about that. It's going to obviously go off of our, normal routine on for Sunday
schedule programming.
So we'll have him for Wednesday. So that is obviously something that will be that'll be fun. I'm really looking forward to that, man. Like a lot of stuff that like I've seen him putting out. I'm like, bro, like I'm so there with you on all of this, and like I'm so there, and I seem like he's doing something like with his daughter too, as far as like some fantasy football stuff. I'm like, oh my god, like I love that. But Coventry, man, dude, super dope guy, man. Familiar voice in my ear on Sundays during the off season, man, doing yard work and listening to Coventry, man. I don't think there's not too many more people in this space, man, that is as passionate as he is all the time. So I love that, man, and I'm excited for it. We actually had a chance to meet him last year at the Expo. Super nice guy, man, super down to earth guy, and obviously giving us his time this upcoming Wednesday, man. So super excited about that and looking forward to it, man.
Definitely.
Yeah. So we'll see you guys on Wednesday of this week. So we'll obviously, put out some stuff, let you guys know like what it is. If you guys have it, again, like we're housing a new space as far as like the YouTube channel goes. So definitely give us a follow like there in that space. We also have our Twitter page up as well. So give us a follow like in that space. If you're a local and you know us, we obviously have our page on Facebook. TikTok's working there. We are up on Instagram as well. Obviously, we have our Spotify as well to be able to listen to the pods. So be on the lookout. We got some shorts that are getting ready to come out. Probably about to get ready to get back in the trap house soon as we get out of here tonight. Get ready to start working on that right there. But in the meantime, in between time, 9 weeks till the fantasy season starts. Jim Coventry on Wednesday. We got more heavy hitters on the way. Guys, it's about to get ready to be off the rip here on the fan. Yeah, it's about to get ready to be one. So for the homie Nick Wilcox and me, Johnny Main, the Fantasy Football Show, we out. Peace.